night is dark and full of theories.
What if Ned Stark didn't tell Cersei he knew the truth? Part 2. Let's explore the depths of it in the video. Before we begin, shout out to our channel Hands of the King, Sir William 1776, Jo Santana Nascimento, Depry NPC, Sith Lord 906, Brandon Larsen, Lord Sariel, James Dickson, Sanada, General Marcus C Maximus, and Randomly Entertaining. We appreciate you. The dawn of the first day breaks red over King's Landing, and Randyll Tarly watches from his position in the Lannister-Tyrell lines as his men prepare for the assault. The most feared military commander in the Reach has one simple order from Tywin Lannister: break Stannis Baratheon's hold on the capital, no matter the cost. And Randyll Tarly intends to do exactly that. The battering ram rolls forward first, a massive oak trunk bound in iron, pushed by 20 men who knew they're marching toward death. Behind them comes the ladder teams, carrying the tools that will, if the gods are kind, breach the walls of the Red Keep itself. Siege weapons launch their payloads in thunderous rhythm. Rocks and burning pitch arch through the morning sky toward the city walls. Stannis stands atop the battlements, his jaws set like iron, watching the enemy advance. Beside him, Sir Davos Seaworth grips the wall with white knuckles.
Your Grace, they're throwing everything at us.
Good. Let them waste their strength on stone and steel.
The ram reaches the gates, and that's when Stannis springs his first trap. The oil pours from murder holes above, drenching the attackers in slick flammable liquid. A single flaming arrow follows, and the screams begin. Men abandon the ram, their bodies aflame, running blindly into their own ranks. The assault falters, but Tarly is relentless. He sends more men forward. The ladder hits the walls next, and here Stannis reveals his second preparation. His men have loosened the stones at key points along the battlements, and as the ladders rise, defenders push the unstable sections outward. Entire ladder teams plummet backward, crashing into the men below. The sound of breaking bones and screaming horses fills the air. Ned Stark moves through the chaos with practiced efficiency, his sword ice cutting down any attacker who manages to reach the top of the walls. The first day ends with the walls intact and hundreds of Lannister-Tyrell soldiers dead. Randyll Tarly retreats to his command tent, his face grim. He's faced Stannis Baratheon's tactical mind before, and he knows this won't be easy. The second day brings more of the same. Tarly varies his approach, attacking from multiple points simultaneously, trying to spread Stannis' defenders thin. But Stannis has spent months preparing these defenses, and he knows every weak point, every angle of approach. More men die against the walls, and still, nothing changes. By the third day, even the zealous younger knights in Renly's army begin to question the wisdom of these frontal assaults. By the fourth day, the healer's tent overflows with wounded and dying men. The maesters work without rest, but there aren't enough hands to treat everyone. On the seventh day, after a full week of brutal grinding combat, Randyll Tarly finally accepts what Tywin Lannister already knows. The walls won't break. Not like this. Not with direct assault. That evening, in the command tent outside the city, Tywin Lannister sits at the head of the War Council, his green eyes cold and calculating. Around him sits Renly Baratheon, still in his fine armor despite never having personally fought in the assault. Randyll Tarly, his surcoat stained with the blood of other men. Mace Tyrell, looking distinctly uncomfortable. And Jaime Lannister.
We've lost over 1,500 men in a week. The wall remains unbreached. Stannis' supplies remain adequate, and our own siege weapons have proven insufficient. Surely there must be some way to... There is. We starve them out.
Starve an entire city? The small folk had nothing to do with my brother's treason.
The small folk in that city are eating food that sustains your brother's army. Every day they eat is another day Stannis can hold the throne he stole from you. If you want your crown, your grace, this is the price.
Father's right. Stannis can't defeat us in open battle. His army is too small, but he can defeat us by simply surviving behind those walls. We need to take away that advantage.
A siege. A true siege. Not this costly assault. We blockade every road, every port, every possible supply route. Nothing gets in, nothing gets out. Give it a month, maybe 2, and they'll be so desperate they'll open their gates themselves.
Mace looks positively ill at the prospect, but he doesn't object. He knows his Tyrell forces have suffered the highest casualties in the week-long assault, and his bannermen are beginning to grumble about the cost of putting Renly on the throne. He seems less and less likely to claim.
Then we are agreed. We hold the siege. No more assaults until Stannis gives us an opening. We wait and we watch his cities starve.
And so the siege transforms. The ram and ladders are pulled back. The great encampment around King's Landing settles into an eerie quiet, broken only by the sound of men digging trenches and building palisades. The message is clear. No one leaves. No one enters. Inside the city, Stannis holds his own council in the Red Keep Solar. The mood is tense. Supplies that seemed adequate for holding off an assault suddenly look desperately thin when facing a siege that could last months.
Speak plainly. How long can we hold?
The quartermaster, a nervous man named Rolder, swallows hard.
With strict rationing, Your Grace. 6 weeks. Perhaps 7 if we slaughtered some of their horses for meat.
The small folk will riot long before we run out of food. They're already afraid. Then we give them certainty instead of fear. We announce the rationing immediately, but we make it clear that everyone, from the king to the lowest beggar, receives the same portions. No exceptions.
That might work for a week, maybe 2. But when their children are crying from hunger, they won't care about fairness. They'll care about survival.
Your Grace, there may be another way.
All eyes turn to the Onion Knight. Stannis nods for him to continue.
The Iron Bank of Bravos. They're always looking for sound investments. And what's more sound than a king who pays his debts? We negotiate a loan. Use it to purchase food from the free cities and bring it by sea.
My brother has ships too. Any supply convoy would be vulnerable.
Vulnerable, yes, but not impossible. Our fleet is still superior to anything Renly can muster from the Redwind fleet, especially in the narrow waters around King's Landing. And the Iron Bank's gold would buy us enough food to outlast this siege by months. It is a bold plan. Risky, but bold.
If we're caught, if the convoy is intercepted, we'll have lost the gold and the food both.
True, but if we do nothing, we'll lose the city in 6 weeks regardless.
The silence stretches. Stannis Baratheon is many things, but indecisive is not one of them.
Very well. Davos, you'll lead the mission. Take a fast ship and the fastest crew we have. Lord Stark, you'll accompany him. The Iron Bank will want assurances that this isn't simply another Westerosi rebellion, that we represent a legitimate government. And Greyjoy, your family built their fortune on sea trade. You'll go as well.
I'm honored, Your Grace.
Don't be. If you fail, you'll likely die in the same godforsaken corner of Essos. If you succeed, you'll still have to run the Lannister blockade on the way back. Neither is particularly honorable.
And that is how, on a moonless night 3 days later, a single ship slips out of King's Landing harbor, running dark with no lights, hugging the northern coast of Blackwater Bay before turning east toward the narrow sea. On board are Ned Stark, Davos Seaworth, Theon Greyjoy, and a hand-picked crew of sailors who know how to keep their mouths shut. They don't know that they're being watched. In the Lannister-Tyrell camp, Varys' former little birds now serve new masters. One of them, a young girl who works in the city docks, has brought word of a ship leaving in secret. The information passes through several hands before reaching Tywin Lannister's tent. Tywin reads the report, his expression unchanged.
They're going for supplies. Probably the free cities. Possibly the Iron Bank if Stannis is as clever as I fear he is. Then we'll stop them. We try. Jaime, gather what ships we have. Launch a naval assault on their fleet. Even if we can't stop the envoys from leaving, we can bloody Stannis' nose and make him think twice about trying this again.
The naval assault comes 2 weeks later, just as Stannis' skeleton crew is beginning to think they might have pulled off the impossible. Redwyne warships bearing the burgundy grape sigil of House Tyrell emerge from the morning mist in the coordinated strike. But Stannis Baratheon didn't become a terror in the Greyjoy rebellion by being unprepared. His fleet, though smaller, is better trained and better positioned. The royal fleet holds the inner harbor, and the Redwyne ships must navigate the tricky currents and rocks of Blackwater Bay to reach them. The battle is short and brutal. 3 Redwyne ships go down into flaming arrows and ramming. 2 more are captured. The rest flee back south, toward the safety of Renly's lines. It's a clear victory for Stannis, but more importantly, it confirms what he suspected. Someone talked about the mission to the Iron Bank. Stannis personally oversees the interrogation of captured Redwyne soldiers. They don't know much, only that they were ordered to attack any ships leaving the harbor. But it's enough. There's a spy in the city, or at least someone who observed too much and reported it. The siege settles into its 4th week. Inside King's Landing, the rationing grows stricter. The small folk go to bed hungry every night. In the camps outside, Renly's coalition begins to show strain. Tyrell soldiers grumble about fighting for a king who's never personally led them into battle. Lannister troops grow frustrated at the delay. They want to go home to the Westerlands, to their families. But it's Renly who sees the bigger picture. After the failed naval assault, he realizes something critical. They can't beat Stannis at sea. Not with the royal fleet, and not with the Redwyne ships. If they're going to maintain a true blockade, if they're going to prevent any future supply runs, they need a better navy. There's only one great naval power they haven't approached, the Iron Islands. Renly brings the idea to Tywin in a private meeting.
The Ironborn. They have the ships we need, and they have no love for Stannis after what he did to them in the Greyjoy Rebellion.
The Ironborn are pirates and raiders. Balon Greyjoy tried to rebel against the crown once before. Why would we trust him now?
Because we offer him something he wants. Promise him Dragonstone once this is over. The island fortress has been a symbol of Targaryen power for 300 years. What better prize for a man who dreams of restoring the old way?
Tywin considers this. He doesn't like the Greyjoys, doesn't trust them, but strategic necessity often requires strange bedfellows.
Send envoys, discreetly. If Stannis learns we're negotiating with the Ironborn, he might make a counteroffer.
The envoys ride north, taking ships from Lannisport to reach the Iron Islands faster. When they arrive at Pike, they discover something unexpected. Balon Greyjoy is dead. The circumstances are mysterious. A fall from a rope bridge during a storm. His body found broken on the rocks below. Some whisper murder, but no one dares speak it openly, because Balon's successor is worse than any the mainland has faced before. Euron Greyjoy, called Crow's Eye, sits the sea stone chair when the envoys arrive. He's wearing an eye patch studded with a black sapphire, and his smile is the smile of a man who delights in other people's discomfort.
My brother was a fool who dreamed small. You want ships. I have the finest fleet in the world. But Dragonstone, that's too small a prize for Euron Greyjoy.
The lead envoy, a Lannister knight named Sir Adam, keeps his composure.
What does the King of the Iron Islands desire, then?
Everything. But we'll start with Dragonstone. And when this war is over, when your pretty king sits his throne, he'll remember that it was the Ironborn steel that put him there. He'll remember who holds the real power in these waters.
The threat is implicit, but clear. Still, the envoys have little choice. They need the Iron Fleet.
Then we have an accord.
We have an accord. I'll bring my ships south, and together we'll bottle up Stannis Baratheon in his stolen city until he chokes on his own righteousness.
Meanwhile, halfway across the world, Ned Stark stands on the docks of Braavos, looking up at the Titan that guards the harbor. Beside him, Davos is already calculating trade routes and supply lines, while Theon tries not to gawk at the strange foreign city around them. The Iron Bank sits in the heart of Braavos, a massive stone building that speaks of power and permanence. Inside, the bankers dress in conservative robes and speak in measured tones, but their eyes are sharp as Valyrian steel. The meeting takes hours. Ned presents their case. Stannis Baratheon is the rightful king. The crown's debts will be honored. The Iron Throne is a sound investment. Davos provides the financial details, surprisingly eloquent for a smuggler-turned-knight, then adds his family's expertise on sea trade routes. The bankers listen. They ask pointed questions. They examine documents and letters of credit. And finally, after what feels like an eternity, they nod. The terms are harsh. The Iron Bank always ensures its profits, but Stannis will have his loan. Enough gold to purchase food from Tyrosh, Lys, and Myr. Enough supplies to outlast any siege. As they leave the bank, Ned feels something he hasn't felt in weeks. Hope. They've done it. Against all odds, they've secured the means to save King's Landing. They're walking back toward the docks, discussing which ships to charter and which merchants to approach, when a woman's voice calls out from an alley.
Theon Greyjoy. I thought that was you.
Theon freezes. He'd know that voice anywhere. He grew up hearing it. It shouted orders on the decks of the Ironborn ships.
Yara?
She steps out of the shadows, and she looks harder than he remembers, worn by sea and struggle. Yara Greyjoy, his elder sister, regarded him with a mixture of relief and urgency.
Thank the drowned god. I've been searching every port in Essos for you.
You're Balon Greyjoy's daughter. What are you doing in Braavos?
Running for my life, Lord Stark. My father is dead, and my uncle Euron has taken the Sea Stone chair. He plans to murder anyone with a better claim than his, and that includes me. I took my fastest ship and fled.
Euron? That madman is in charge of the Iron Fleet?
Worse. I have information you need. Before I left, I heard Euron meeting with envoys from Westeros, Lannister envoys. He's made a deal with them, Theon. With Renly and the Lannisters. He's bringing the Iron Fleet south to blockade King's Landing.
The hope Ned felt moments ago turns to ash in his mouth. With the Iron Fleet added to Renly's forces, any supply convoy they send would be intercepted and destroyed. The food they'd worked so hard to secure would never reach the city.
Then we're doomed. Even if we load 100 ships with grain, they'll never make it through.
There's more. I've been gathering information in Essos, trying to find allies. anyone who might help me reclaim my birthright. And I heard something interesting. The Dragon Queen is here, in Essos.
Dragon Queen?
Daenerys Targaryen. She has 3 dragons. Actual dragons, Lord Stark. Living and breathing fire. And an army to match. Unsullied warriors from Astapor. A whole Dothraki Kalasar. She heard you were in Bravos. And she wants to meet you.
This is insane. Dragons? Targaryens? What could she possibly want with us?
I don't know. But given that your supply mission is now worthless unless you can fight your way past the Iron Fleet, I'd say you don't have much choice but to find out.
The meeting is arranged through Yara's contacts in Bravos' underworld. 3 days later, Ned, Davos, and Theon stand in a pavilion villa overlooking the city's canals, waiting. When Daenerys Targaryen enters the room, Ned's breath catches. She looks so much like her brother Rhaegar, the same silver hair, the same purple eyes, the same otherworldly beauty that marked the Targaryens as different from other men. But where Rhaegar was melancholy and introspective, Daenerys radiates determination and barely restrained power. She's not alone. Beside her walks a bald man in fine robes, and Ned recognizes him instantly.
Lord Varys. Lord Stark. How unexpected to see you here, so far from home. Though I suppose we're both servants of the realm, aren't we? We simply disagree on who should rule it.
Lord Stark, Sir Davos, and you must be Theon Greyjoy. My advisors told me you were in Bravos, negotiating with the Iron Bank.
Her voice is younger than Ned expected, but there's steel in it. This is not Viserys, mad and desperate. This is something else entirely.
Your Grace, I won't insult your intelligence by pretending we're not here on a pleasure voyage. We came for supplies to save a besieged city, but I suspect you already knew that.
I do. Just as I know that Stannis Baratheon sits the Iron Throne, and that Robert Baratheon, the man who stole my family's crown, is dead. What I don't know is why I shouldn't have my dragons burn you where you stand, and take what is mine by right of blood and conquest.
The threat hangs in the air. Ned can hear the screech of something large outside. A dragon. He realizes with a chill. She actually has dragons.
Because I can tell you something you don't know. Something about your family. About blood that still lives in Westeros.
My family is dead. Robert's rebellion saw to that.
Not all of them, Your Grace. I was there when your brother Rhaegar died on the Trident. I was there when King's Landing fell. And I was there at the Tower of Joy, where your brother's wife, Lyanna Stark, gave birth to their son.
The room goes utterly silent. Varys' eyes widen fractionally. The first time Ned has ever seen the spy master genuinely surprised.
What are you saying?
Your brother married my sister in secret. She died in childbirth, but the boy lived. I took him north, claimed him as my bastard to protect him from Robert's assassin. His name is Jon Snow, and he's your nephew, Your Grace, the last living son of Rhaegar Targaryen.
Daenerys sits down heavily, her composure finally cracking. Varys moves to her side, whispering urgently, but she waves him off.
You protected a Targaryen. You, Eddard Stark, who Robert trusted above all others.
I protected my sister's son. I promised her on her deathbed that I would keep him safe. And I have. He's at the wall now, serving the Night's Watch, knowing nothing of his heritage. A fascinating tale, Lord Stark. But what does this have to do with the current situation? Your Grace, Stannis Baratheon has no sons, only a daughter. He's a hard man, but he's just. If you were to help us, if you were to use your dragons and your army to break the siege, he would make you his heir, and Jon Snow could be brought south, legitimized as a Targaryen, and wed to you. 2 branches of House Targaryen united, the dragons and the throne, together again.
It's a brilliant pitch, and Ned silently thanks the gods that Davos has a smuggler's silver tongue when needed. Daenerys looks at Varys. The spider nods slowly.
It solves several problems, Your Grace. You gain legitimate standing in Westeros, not as a foreign conqueror, but as a returning daughter helping to restore order. You gain powerful allies in the north through the Starks, and you gain a marriage alliance that would reunite 2 claims to the throne.
And if I refuse? If I simply take my dragons and burn my way to King's Landing without need for alliances?
Then you'll face the same hatred and resistance that Aegon the Conqueror faced, but without the advantage of surprise. The realm will see you as another mad Targaryen coming to burn their cities. But if you come as a liberator, as a rightful heir helping to end a destructive siege, as someone who values justice over vengeance, then you'll have a chance of being the queen you want to be, not the queen your enemies fear.
The silence stretches. Daenerys closes her eyes, and Ned can almost see her weighing the possibilities, imagining the futures each choice might bring. Finally, she opens her eyes and looks directly at Ned.
I'll agree. On one condition. When we return to Westeros, you bring me to meet this nephew of mine. I want to see for myself if he's worthy of the Targaryen name.
Done.
They spend the next 3 days preparing. The supply convoy is assembled, 20 merchant vessels loaded with grain, salted meat, and other provisions. Daenerys' unsullied warriors board the ship as protection, and her Dothraki, those who can stand sea travel, prepare themselves for the voyage. And above all, 3 dragons circle, their shadows vast against the Essosi sky. The journey back to Westeros takes 2 weeks. They sail west to cross the Summer Sea, passing the ruins of Valyria at a safe distance, before turning north to the Narrow Sea. It's during this voyage that Ned gets to know the Dragon Queen better, and he finds himself genuinely impressed. She's young, yes, but she listens to counsel, thinks strategically, and genuinely seems to care about the people she rules. She also has a surprisingly keen interest in Jon Snow.
Tell me about him. My nephew. What kind of man is he?
Honorable. Brave. Perhaps too much of both. He chose the Night's Watch knowing it meant giving up all claims to lands or titles. He looks like his mother. He has a coloring, but he has Rhaegar's melancholy sometimes.
As they approach the Narrow Sea, they receive word from Yara's remaining contacts. Euron Greyjoy's Iron Fleet has left the islands and is moving south. The trap is being set. Varys, ever the information broker, provides the key intelligence. Euron knows about the supply convoy. He plans to intercept them as they approach Blackwater Bay, crushing the ships between the Iron Fleet and the Redwind vessels.
It's an ambush. He'll have us trapped between 2 fleets. Then we spring the trap ourselves. Daenerys, how high can your dragons fly?
High enough to hide in clouds. Why?
Because Euron Greyjoy is about to learn that the Age of Dragons has returned.
As the supply convoy approaches Blackwater Bay, right on schedule, Euron's Iron Fleet emerges from the south. Sleek war galleys bearing the Kraken of House Greyjoy cut through the water like predators scenting blood. From the north comes the Redwind ships, completing the pincer move. On the deck of his flagship, Euron Crowseye laughs.
Look at them. Merchant vessels, fat and slow. We'll take them all, and...
The first dragon breaks through the clouds like a thunderbolt of teeth and fire. Drogon, Daenerys' largest mount, is the size of her small ship himself now, and when he roars, the sound echoes across the water like the end of the world. Behind him comes Rhaegal and Viserion, smaller but no less terrifying. The dragons fall upon the Iron Fleet with savage precision. Drogon's flames turn 3 war galleys into floating funeral pyres in the first pass. Rhaegal tears the main mast from a 4th ship with his claws, sending it crashing down onto the deck and crushing men beneath it. Viserion's pale fire, hot enough to melt steel, punches through hulls and ignites pitch stores. Euron's laughter dies. He's faced many things in his mad voyages across the world, but he's never faced dragons. No living man has.
Loose arrows! Bring them down!
But arrows bounce off dragon scales, and the few that find softer flesh only enrage the beasts further. Within an hour, the Iron Fleet is shattered. Some ships burn, some sink, some flee north toward the Iron Islands. Euron himself escapes on his flagship, the Silence, using some unnatural wind to speed him away from the carnage. The Redwine ships, seeing what happened to the Ironborn, wisely turn south and retreat. They'll report back to Renly and Tywin, and that report will change everything. The supply convoy, unharmed, continues towards King's Landing. On the walls of the Red Keep, Stannis Baratheon watches the ships approach. He's heard the reports from scouts. Dragons, they said, though he refused to believe it. Dragons are extinct. Dragons are myths. Dragons are... Drogon circles the Red Keep once, close enough that Stannis can see his black scales gleaming, can see the intelligence in those reptilian eyes. The dragon roars, and the sound shakes the very stones of the fortress. Stannis' hand tightens on the battlement wall. Around him, his men stand frozen in awe and terror. The ship docks, and Stannis himself walks down to the harbor to meet them. When Ned Stark disembarks, followed by Davos and Theon, Stannis' first words are,
Explain.
Now, we secured the loan from the Iron Bank. We secured the supplies. But we also learned that Euron Greyjoy had allied with Renly and the Lannisters, and that he planned to intercept our convoy. So we made an alliance of our own.
A silver-haired woman steps off the ship, flanked by unsullied warriors. Behind her, 3 dragons land on the harbor stones, causing the ground to shake.
Your Grace, may I present Daenerys Stormborn of House Targaryen?
Stannis looks at Daenerys. Daenerys looks at Stannis. The 2 monarchs study each other with the calculating gaze of natural rivals who've just been forced into an alliance. Finally, Stannis nods curtly.
The supplies,
will be distributed to your people immediately. The siege is broken, King Stannis. Your city will not starve.
And the price for this aid?
We'll discuss terms, but first, I believe you have a war to win.
The arrival of Daenerys Targaryen and her dragon sends shockwaves through Westeros. The small folk of King's Landing, who've been living on starvation rations for weeks, suddenly have food again. The sight of dragons flying over the city, the ancient symbol of Targaryen power, reunites old loyalties and old dreams. In Dorne, Prince Dorne Martell receives the news in his water gardens and makes a decision he's been postponing for years. His sister Elia was murdered by the Lannisters. His family has bled for vengeance, and now a Targaryen has returned with dragons.
Send word to King's Landing. Dawn stands with House Targaryen and King Stannis. Prepare the armies. We march north.
Within days, 10,000 Dornish spears begin the long march up the Prince's Pass towards the Reach. They'll reinforce King's Landing from the south, cutting off any hope Renly had of starving the city. In the Lannister-Tyrell camp, the mood has shifted from confident to desperate. The arrival of dragons changed everything. Men who are willing to fight for gold or glory or political advantage have no desire to face the legendary weapons that conquered Westeros 3 centuries ago. Mace Tyrell holds an emergency meeting with his son Loras and his mother Olenna.
This has gone far enough. We've lost thousands of men, spent fortunes on sieges, and now there are dragons involved. Dragons! We need to negotiate terms.
Father, we pledged ourselves to Renly. We can't just abandon him.
Olenna, cleverer than either of the men in her family, shakes her head.
We can if we play this correctly. We pledged ourselves to Renly when he seemed likely to win. But circumstances have changed. Stannis has dragons and Dorne supporting him. Tywin and Jaime might be willing to fight to the death. The Lannisters have nowhere to run. But we do. We can negotiate.
Negotiate what? Stannis will want our heads for treason.
Then we give him something more valuable than our heads. We give him his brother.
The proposal is brought to Renly in his pavilion that night. The young king, resplendent in his gold-green armor, listens to the Tyrell's suggestion with growing horror.
You want me to surrender? To bend the knee to Stannis? Your Grace, we want you to live. The dragons have changed everything. We can negotiate terms. Perhaps be allowed to keep our lands and our titles in exchange for—
No! I claim the throne. I won't give it up just because my brother has found some new weapon.
Tywin Lannister, present for the discussion, nods approvingly.
Well said, Your Grace. The Lannisters don't surrender. We fight until every last one of us is dead if necessary.
Jaime, standing behind his father, says nothing, but his eyes are thoughtful, calculating. The Tyrells leave the meeting frustrated and afraid. That night, Olenna composes 2 letters in secret. The first goes to Stannis Baratheon, the second goes to Daenerys Targaryen. The message in both is the same. House Tyrell wishes to preserve itself. We will deliver Renly Baratheon and the Lannister commanders into your custody in exchange for our lands, our titles, and our lives. Respond quickly if you agree. The response comes within days. Stannis' letter is terse. Bring me the traitors, and you may keep what is yours. Daenerys is more diplomatic, but contains the same agreement. The betrayal is planned for a feast 4 days later. A dinner meant to boost morale among the coalition's leaders. Renly, Tywin, and Jaime attend, along with their senior commanders. The Tyrells ensure their own guards are posted at key positions. The dinner seems normal at first. Wine flows, food is served, and men discuss strategy. And then, at a signal from Marjorie, everything changes. Tyrell guards flood the pavilion. Loras himself, his face a mask of regret, draws his sword on Renly.
Loras? What are you doing? Saving my family. I'm sorry, Your Grace.
Tywin realizes what's happening immediately and goes for his sword, but he's too slow. Tyrell men disarm him, force him to his knees. Jaime fights briefly but is overwhelmed by numbers.
You're betraying me. After everything
We've betrayed a lost cause, Your Grace. Be grateful we're not killing you here.
The prisoners are bound and gagged, loaded onto carts, and transported toward King's Landing under heavy guard. When they reach the Lannister-Tyrell lines, Tyrell soldiers turn on their former allies. It's not a battle, it's a massacre. When men who fought together for months now kill each other in the dark, and by dawn, the field is red with blood. Stannis and Daenerys receive the prisoners in the throne room of the Red Keep. Renly is brought in first, still in chains, his green gold armor stripped away. He looks at his brother with genuine disbelief.
Stannis, please. We're brothers. Surely we can—
You declared yourself king despite having no claim. You raised armies against the rightful heir. You besieged the capital and tried to starve it into submission. What mercy should I show you?
I am your brother.
That makes your treason worse, not better.
Tywin Lannister is brought next, and unlike Renly, he shows no fear. He stands straight despite his bonds, meeting Stannis' gaze evenly.
You won't kill me. You need the Westerlands, need their gold and their armies. I can deliver them to you.
Daenerys, sitting on a chair beside Stannis, speaks for the first time.
The Westerlands will kneel regardless of whether you live or die, Lord Tywin. Anyone we appoint can inherit Casterly Rock and rule as a loyal vassal. You, however, are guilty of treason, of attempting to destroy House Targaryen, and of countless other crimes.
The Targaryens were mad. Someone needed to remove them.
Perhaps, but you chose the method. You chose to have women and children butchered in their beds. You chose to parade their bodies before the throne. For that, you'll answer.
Jaime is the last, and he looks at his father with genuine anguish.
I'm sorry. I tried to save you.
You did your duty. Remember that, whatever happens next.
I could show mercy. I could send you all to the wall, let you take the black and live out your days in service to the realm. But mercy would set a dangerous precedent. Every ambitious lord would think they could rebel and only face exile if they failed. He turns to Daenerys. Justice must be done, and in the old ways of my house and yours. Traitors burn. The execution happens at dawn in the courtyard of the Red Keep. Wildfire would have been more theatrical, but Stannis refuses to use it. He saw what it did during the siege, and he considers it dishonorable. Instead, Daenerys calls Drogon. The Black Dragon settles in the courtyard, and one by one the prisoners are brought forward. Renly goes first, and he's crying now, begging for his life. Stannis watches with his jaw set, his eyes hard. When Drogon's flames engulf his brother, Stannis does not flinch, but Ned, watching from the sideline, sees something die in the man's eyes. Tywin faces death with dignity. He doesn't beg, doesn't plead. He looks at Jaime one last time and nods, then closes his eyes, and the fire takes him. Jaime is the last, and as he stands before the dragon, he looks at Stannis.
I broke my oath to defend the Mad King. I killed him to save the city. Was that justice, or was that treason?
That was both. And now you pay the price for it.
The flames consume the Kingslayer, and when they fade, all that remains is ash. The realm bends the knee rapidly after that. The Tyrells keep their bargain. They maintain Highgarden in the Reach, though they pay a hefty indemnity. But there's one more piece of business to attend to. Jon Snow. Ned and Daenerys ride north together, a small party that includes Davos, Theon, and a handful of guards. The journey to the wall takes weeks, giving Ned time to prepare his nephew for the revelation that will change his life. When they reach Castle Black, Jon Snow is summoned to meet with his uncle. He enters the Lord Commander's chamber confused, expecting to be told about some ranging beyond the wall. Instead, he finds Ned and a silver-haired woman he doesn't recognize.
Father, I didn't expect you to...
Jon, sit down. There's something I need to tell you. Something I should have told you years ago.
And Ned tells him everything, about Rhaegar and Lyanna, about the Tower of Joy, about the promise he made and the lie he'd lived for 16 years, about Jon's true identity, Aegon Targaryen, son of the Dragon Prince and the She-Wolf of Winterfell. Jon listens in silence, his face pale. When Ned finishes, Jon doesn't speak for a long moment.
I'm a Targaryen.
You're my nephew, the last male heir to the Iron Throne. Or you would be if you weren't sworn to the Night's Watch.
I took vows. I'm sworn for life.
Kings can release men from vows. Stannis would do it if asked. The realm needs you, Jon. The wall needs you, but in a different way. As a king or a prince, you could send it resources. You could prepare it for what's coming from beyond.
And I need you. I've crossed a continent and an ocean to reclaim my family's throne, but I don't want to rule alone. I want someone who understands this land, who cares about these people. From what I've heard, that's you.
Jon looks at her for the first time. Really looks at her, and something passes between them. Recognition, perhaps, or shared blood and shared dynasty, or maybe just the spark of attraction between two young people who've both carried heavy burdens.
I need time to think.
Take all the time you need, but know this. The Night King is coming, Jon Snow. Or should I say, Jon Targaryen. And when he does, you'll need dragons to fight him. You'll need me. We'll need each other.
3 days later, Jon agrees. He's released from his vows by royal decree, legitimized as a Targaryen, and betrothed to his aunt in the traditional Targaryen custom. The marriage will wait. Both of them agree they should know each other first, but the alliance is sealed. Stannis rules as king, a hard but fair monarch who governs with the same rigid justice he showed in execution. Daenerys is named his heir, and she spends her days learning the intricacies of Westerosi politics, while her dragons grow larger by the day. Theon Greyjoy, for his bravery and service, is given Casterly Rock. The irony isn't lost on anyone, an Ironborn ruling the Westerlands, but Theon has proven himself loyal. He also retains nominal lordship over the Iron Islands, though his sister, Yara, administers them in his stead. The Greyjoys, for the first time in centuries, have become a great house through service rather than reaving. Shireen Baratheon receives the Stormlands in Storm's End. In a match that surprises everyone but somehow works, she's betrothed to Bran Stark, the boy who fell and lost his legs. Bran will never be a warrior, but his mind is sharp, and Shireen's gentle nature complements his quiet intelligence. They rule the Stormlands together. Robb Stark marries Margaery Tyrell in a match that secures the North's alliance with the Reach. Margaery was never sullied by Renly. She was still a maiden when the betrothal was arranged, and she proves to be a capital lady of Winterfell, charming the northern lords and bearing Robb several children who carry both southern beauty and northern strength. And the Targaryens take their ancestral home. Dragonstone, ancient and impregnable, becomes theirs again. Jon and Daenerys rule there together, preparing for the war they both know is coming. The war against winter. The war against death itself. Because far in the north, beyond the wall, the Night King watches and waits. He sees the dragons flying south. He knows that the fire that defeated his kind once has returned, and he knows that the final battle between ice and fire is coming. But that's a story for another time. That's our theory. Westeros is a land full of exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you'd like to join us on this journey across the Seven Kingdoms and beyond, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.